Hello, welcome to another episode of Workspace Admins. Today we are going to revisit context-aware access, which is a video we did a number of years ago. So it looks like we did this 3 years ago. So we'll be revisiting how to create some of the access levels, because this is where we found that there are some outdated support article because Google's menu has slightly changed over the past 3 years. So the Google's context-aware access menu is found under Security, Access and Data Control, Context-aware Access. And what you first want to do is create an access level. So one recommendation here is to keep this as simple as possible, because you can combine different access levels when you're defining some of your policies. So first, click on create an access level. So we are just going to use a basic condition today, and Google's support article here has a few tables, and they reference something like don't meet attributes or meet attributes. So it seems to be a very binary condition, and the screenshot here might be a bit hard to see, and I'll just click on theater mode here so you can see. So before, Google had and or in different menu, and then they had meet attributes, don't meet attributes under a different menu. But Google seems to have combined it, which makes it very confusing. So let's say I want to do a location policy. So let's say user gets access if they're in Canada. So that makes sense. But if you want to do it for a negative condition, so user gets access if they are not in Canada. So because of this presence of or, that makes it a bit confusing. So one other thing to note is this looks like just a regular drop-down menu, but it is actually a multi-select. So let's say I want to add China here. So this is how you do it. And if you want to do a negative condition, you just need to simply click or the second option here, which is don't meet attributes. In this case, or doesn't really apply because it just isn't. So Google's UI design here needs some work. Click on add attribute here. So let's say I want to add IP subnet policy here. So user doesn't get access if their IP address is or IPv4 is any IP address. So that means if you may have some instances where you may want to enable a service or disable access, users' access to Gmail or Drive or Calendar, depending on, let's say you're doing a migration from another system, so you need to make sure the service is enabled, but if the user already has access to the account, and that you want to prevent their access to those services. So this is my policy you might want to configure. And then you can add some additional attributes again, but consider creating different access levels if you can. So I'm just going to remove this and then just save this access level after I add China or Russia as an example. So it is alphabetical, but my keyboard doesn't seem to be working. OPQR, Russia is there. So I'll just give it a name. Or I'll just call it condition. No access from So let's click I'm done. So I do have a few other access levels that I've created, so we'll take a look at it together. So what's helpful in this menu here is you can actually click on view details. So I have a couple others that I've created so far. So let's take a look at the one we created just now. So condition no access from 3 countries. So user locations not Canada, China, or Russia. So as long as users are outside of these 3 countries, users will be able to access. And let's click on so this one I created using a common expression language. So we'll take a look at that one. And the other one I created in the Google or GCP console. So I do have different countries selected, but it again is very similar to one we created, although different list of countries. So let's click on the one for using CEL, or Common Expression Language. So you need to click on Advanced, and Google has documentation on access level you can create. So the origin attributes, which is the one we are using, and then you need to have the 2-letter code for the country. So origin.region underscore code n, followed by a square bracket, and then list of countries in an array. So that's what we have here. So this means that users will get access if they are in US, France, or Japan. In our case, let's go back here. So I put everything inside a bracket or parentheses, and I put an exclamation mark in front of it, which means I'm negating it. So that means users will get access as long as they are outside of Canada, Russia, and North Korea. So this is a condition that I have. So let's just change North Korea to China to match the other example that we had. Let's hit Save Changes. And now we are in the Google Admin Console, or the GCP console. So you need to first go to Access Context Manager. You need to make sure that you have your organization node selected. So depending on your GCP permissions, this is a page that you may not necessarily have access to. So if I try to edit the one that I created in the Google Admin Console, I can't really do anything there. But if I click on the one that I created in GCP console, then I am able to specify. So this menu is much more intuitive than the current iteration of the Google Admin Console setting outside of CEL. So this is where, again, you can do a multi-select. So you can, again, it's very obvious to the user or the administrator that it is a multi-select menu, unlike the Google Admin Console, which seems like it was put together by someone who perhaps doesn't really think about UI, UX. So I'm trying to remove North Korea, and let's add China. Hit save. Now let's go to assigning access level. So let's say I want to go to Gmail. So this should load, and let's go to Gemini. So this should also load. So what I've done is I created a group called CAA_Brian demo, and then I made it a security group and put myself in this group. So now let's go back to the context or access menu, and I'll assign access levels to apps. I'll first search for the group, and I'm going to assign this to Gmail and Gemini. And I'm going to find the access level that we created today. So that was the 3 countries one. I'll do active and turn off monitor. So continue. So even though this says it doesn't apply to Gemini app, so that just means Gemini mobile from the way I understand it. So I'm going to just click this. Second option, I won't click because that controls the API calls, which I may need for other integrations that we have. Let's hit assign. So we'll just give it a few minutes and go back to this page here and user message. So this is where you can allow remediation messages to be shown. So it may say things like, okay, you can't access this application from your specific country, or if you have an IP policy, it'll say something like subnet, or if it's a device policy, it may say something like, okay, you need to either update Chrome, have a certificate, so on and so forth. And one thing to note is device-based conditions. Your users will be limited to having to use Google Chrome with endpoint verification extension installed. So now I think we've had enough time here. So as you can see, your user gets an error message that they don't have access, similar to Gemini. And yeah, so if I just refreshed and I see that I don't have access to Gemini. So If I want to quickly fix this without unassigning the access level, I can simply, so before you do that, let's go to reporting, audit, and context-aware access log events. So this will show the deny event. So access denied, today is the 21st, 8:35. So I can see access level that was applied is no Canada GCP. So maybe I applied wrong access levels, but get the gist. So Gmail is blocked. Oh, that was earlier today, 8:35. Yeah, so right now it's 9:21. So there seems to be a bit of a lag in terms of this audit log getting generated or being visible. But as you can see, I don't have access. But if I do gam update group, CA Brian demo, delete member Brian. So I've now removed myself from the group, and let's say I go to gmail.com. So perhaps it's a bit of propagation delay, but we'll see. So it seems to be a propagation delay, but let's say I want to unassign the access level. No, actually, Gemini seems to be loading now, and Gmail is loading again. So there was a few seconds or maybe like a minute or two lag, but this is how you resolve issues. So use groups to control assignment while you're doing your testing or even deploying it so that you can quickly resolve the issues without having to assign it, unassign, and trying to figure things out. So groups definitely gives you that flexibility. So this is how you go about creating an access level in the Google Admin Console or using common expression language or access context manager in the GCP console to deny access from certain countries, or you could do the same thing with certain IP addresses. So if you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up or leave a comment below if you have any questions. Or if you don't want to, or if you want to reach out privately, feel free to send an email to team@workspaceadmins.org. Thanks.